Hey guys, David here. Welcome to the Dark Spider David Show. I'm imagining that an awful lot of you folks are in fact gamers, and I'm a gamer myself. One of the most heartbreaking things as a gamer is to see a series that has so much potential and actually fulfill it, then get judged by the amount of money that it makes. Similar to movies, actually. In fact, if you're a humongous fan of movies or comic books or TV shows, I think it's probably the biggest culprit of them all with this sort of relevant topic, where something that can be so good gets dictated by something that is so quantifiable, and because of that, it just kind of vanishes out of existence. Obviously, Firefly is the biggest detriment when it comes to the TV format, because an awful lot of people love that show, but because it didn't do well with the ratings, they canceled it. We have plenty of movies that didn't happen because the first one didn't make enough money. And then we got video games where some don't get made because of the lack of money, or because they just don't get the right amount of attention. Like, even when they fall in that gray area where developers could say, yeah, we can make more, but at the same time we want to look at other things, because they don't get the proper motivation or the drive to want to make another entry. And basically what I want to bring to your guys' attention here is the Dishonored franchise. So we have Dishonored Death of the Outsider. It's an expansion for Dishonored 2 that centers around our character from within the series. I'm not going to say what exactly transpired with this character, and you play as this character who takes on the mission to want to kill the Outsider. And the Outsider is like this reoccurring character within the series that kind of has like this supernatural feel to him, and he's actually responsible for why so many of our protagonists that we have played up until this point, whether it be in the first two Dishonored games or even the expansions in between with Knife of Dunwall and whatnot, they have their powers. This is why they have their powers, because of this Outsider. But one of the reoccurring things with this character is that he's always predicting the future and kind of telling our main characters what exactly is going to happen and how exactly do they feel about the whole thing, but he never does jack shit. So he's emblematic of like those godly figures that always like to fuck with normal humans. And let's just say that some people within the expansion, some characters, not the developers, but with characters within the story for this upcoming expansion, just said enough is enough, and that's what centers around the plot. They're like, you know what, death to this. One character says in the trailer that black-eyed son of a bitch or whatever, it's time to end this guy. It's retailing for $30, so I'm imagining it's not going to be a very long playthrough. I'm banking on maybe about 6 hours or so. And that's a little sad, because news have come forward from Gamescom, which was a good while back. It's over by now. But the developers from Arcane Studios, which is a division underneath Bethesda's publishing, and they're in charge of the Dishonored franchise, they stated that Dishonored Death of the Outsider will mark the concurrent end of the Dishonored series. And they elaborated more within their interview, saying that what they're trying to explain here is that Death of the Outsider will mark the end of this era for Dishonored. So not only did they conceive the expansion to be an ending for this time period, for the characters of Emily Caldwin and Corval and all of these supporting characters that we've been following up until this point, Knife of Dunwall with Dowd the assassin or Megan Foster and whatnot. All of these characters and their plots and how they're kind of intertwined with one another will all culminate with Death of the Outsider. Considering that this is the ending for all of those plotlines, it almost feels like a series finale. And it could very well be a definitive series finale, because not only did they construct it to be an ending for this whole cycle, but also a potential ending for the whole series as a whole. And then on a separate occasion at QuakeCon 2017, the people behind Dishonored, one particular guy here, his name is Harvey Smith, the creative director from the entire series. He stated in an interview saying that right now he's not very certain that there's going to be a Dishonored 3. And it's funny because my whole premise, my pitch for Dishonored 3 was going to center around Megan Foster, and yet they gave her the expansion. But he says that he doesn't know yet. I'm quoting here, "I don't know yet. I kind of hope there are more Dishonored games, but I honestly don't know." Wow, that was fucking vague as fuck. But then he says, "All I know is that for this set of characters in this situation that started with the Rat Plague and went through Corval and Emily and Dowd and Billy and the Outsider, this is the finale of that piece. If there are more Dishonored games, there will be different characters in a different situation." So basically he's going to branch off. It's going to kind of take place in the same universe when it comes to like powers and the whole aesthetic of the series from a first-person angle where you have to assassinate people and whatnot. But we're probably going to be looking at a time jump forward in time, because the whole Dishonored series up until this point takes place in like the 1800s or something like that. This would maybe take place in the far future, or maybe even in the far past, with a completely different set of characters, a la Fear the Walking Dead. Let's look at that example. Fear the Walking Dead is kind of like a spin-off of The Walking Dead, where it's in a different setting, different time. Maybe we could be looking at a similar thing with the Dishonored franchise in the future, proceeding from this point on with Death of the Outsider. So this is just a little scary, because when you hear a developer say that they are not entirely sure if a very beloved series like this is going to continue, it's a little unnerving, because I really do love Dishonored. I fell in love with this series when it told me during the first game, when I was playing the first game for the first time, because I've played the game about 2 times now, maybe 3 times, not twice, and I remember the moment where the game said, hey, we encourage you to do stealth, but you don't have to do stealth. You don't have to. If they spot you, you don't get a game over. You better either run or be prepared to fight. And I'm like, fuck yes. After playing these Assassin's Creed games where when you get recognized, it's a game over and they kill somebody that's important, or they kill you or something like that, I hate that shit. Here, I'm given the option, and I love that feeling of liberty, especially when I know that I can take these guys on with a bunch of guns and knives and stuff like that. So that's always welcome, and that's where I fell in love with the Dishonored. So seeing that its future is kind of up in the air, it's a little scary to me, because I really do love this series, and I'm looking forward to Death of the Outsider, but at the same time it can kind of take its time, knowing that this is the potential end for not only this entire Caldwell era, as the guy calls it, but also the series entirely. Now, can the series work without these pivotal characters? Absolutely. I think there's so many potential ideas to kind of take from this lore, because as he put it in another interview back in Gamescom, he says that the Outsider is not the only god. He could potentially be a breed of all these other guys that have the potential to like give people powers and see the future and all that stuff. He is a god, but not the god. So it's interesting to kind of take that and maybe expand it a little bit more, and that could always make for some bigger and better games later down the line for a Dishonored 3 or whatnot. So there's always a variety of things that they could kind of do from this, because they set up a world here that can make for really amazing video games. Hopefully they don't really drop the ball, and hopefully Bethesda can fund them enough to develop another game, because I don't want to see this series die. When we are in a world where we get fucking Call of Duty every year and Assassin's Creed every year or every other year that still looks the same, I mean, I'm sorry, Origins doesn't look any different than it would have come out last year. I want to see more Dishonored. I want to see them take their time and release a Dishonored game every other year or every 2 to 3 years or so that's very polished, very awesome, with great gameplay, a cool story. Although I will admit that if they bring on some really cool characters to the forefront, they also need to change up the story, because I will admit Dishonored 2 was kind of similar to the Dishonored 1 story, so some changes could be welcome there, but that breeds potential, and I would love to see the series continue. It's just a shame that right now its future is in fact in jeopardy. So if you guys are humongous fans of Dishonored, let me know in the comments, what would you guys love to see in Dishonored 3? Are you guys looking forward to Death of the Outsider, or do you think that they're getting a little carried away with these expansions? And also, what's one of your guys' favorite franchise that you feel terrible never got the sequel that it deserved? And of course, you guys know the drill. Don't forget to like, share, and stay tuned for future content. These actors that are brimming with talent are turned into pieces of wood. The script even tries to give them some witty banter, and yet, because of how monotone they are, it just doesn't work.
Tell me about your dream.
Emote, you left testicle, emote.